the Institution of Engineering and Technology in North Yorkshire presents Brian Hoyle. Brian is a Professor in Electronic Sensors and Instrumentation Systems and is a member of the Research Institute of Particle Science and Engineering in the School of Process, Environmental and Materials Engineering at Leeds University. Here he is talking about the Ultrabike.
My name is Professor Brian Hoyle from the University of Leeds, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the Ultrabike innovation. And it's quite amazing sometimes just how some spontaneous conversation can give rise to things. And the Ultrabike is one of those spontaneous innovations. It arose because of my interest in looking inside industrial processes using very high frequency sound called ultrasound. And I found that quite a lot of other people in the university are interested in ultrasound and sound in general. One of them was a guy who was interested in how bats work, and another person, a neurophysiologist, interested in how blind and deaf people can still perceive the space around them. So you can see the little bits coming out from that and how it could give birth to something. So we had a few meetings and we had a little bit of a brainstorm, and one of the things that arose from my neurophysiologist colleague was, as an electronic systems engineer, we've done fantastic things at the University of Leeds here. We've done lots of work on communication systems, and I'm sat here at the moment in a little simulator which simulates a small light aircraft and is used as part of our aviation technology program. We've got other ones as well, including an Airbus A320 simulator. And these things are full of sensors and computers and systems. And she said to me, "You've got all this technology around you, but all we have for blind people is sticks and dogs." And although the sticks are carbon fibre sticks perhaps, and the dogs are very nice dogs if you like a pet, the whole thing, it takes away independence as a dog, and gives you only a little bit of information when you bump into something if you've got a stick. So we have this idea of putting ultrasonic beams on a cane, and that's called the Ultra Cane. And as part of a TV program with Richard Hammond, Miracles of Nature, about a year ago now, they had this idea of putting this sort of technology on a car. And we didn't really go for that. It seemed to be a bit difficult in safety terms, but we did go for the Ultrabike. And the Ultrabike has got two beams looking forwards, and it lets blind riders, literally completely blind people, have a go at riding independently and solo on a bike. And many of them have not done this for a very long time. And although balancing can be a little bit of a problem, we can have a three-wheeler bike, and they find it fantastically enjoyable in controlled circumstances to use an Ultrabike.
I want you to watch the next 30 seconds very carefully. In just a few minutes, a second rider is going to come down this track, through the same twists and turns, over the same humps and bumps, but with one big difference. This rider is blind. So how is that possible when practically all he sees around him is black? This man, Professor Brian Hoyle, believes he's found a way to do just that by putting bat tech in a stick.
So this isn't just a bit like the way a bat works. This is echolocated.
It's very, very similar indeed.
Okay.
Over to you.
Right, so... it's beeping at me, that was you!
It was me.
It's found
yes,
you!
You felt me.
Look at
yes,
that! And if
here.
I move it off, it stops.
I'm going to go behind you so I can see what's going on.
I felt you walk through. So what I'm doing now is, this is sending out a noise, the same as a bat does, and then listening for it bouncing back echoing back off objects, which is exactly what our bats did. It then tells me by buzzing on this, and you can feel it in my thumb. So if I walk towards that, it's found something.
Just take it slowly.
It's buzzing through my thumb.
Ah, good.
But if I move off, it's not.
Great.
So it's telling me there's an object
So
to
you
my
found
left.
a safe path to the right.
And there's nothing to my right. Nothing. Oh! There's a sudden buzz at my now if I move off to the right, nothing. To the left, something. To the right, nothing. So I would know I'm okay going this way. And it gets faster as you get closer to it. It buzzes through your thumb more quickly.
That's great. Absolutely.
Well, you don't need me to tell you, Brian, that your invention works, because it does.
Fantastic. Great. The Ultracane, which is the basis of the Ultrabike, looks like this. Quite literally, you can see it's a collapsible cane, and that's just the same as any other cane, that bit. But the top, at the bottom, as you can, the top, as you can see, if I hold it in the correct position and sweep it around, you can see it's got two rather strange pieces here, and these are ultrasonic sound generators and receivers. So we get a beam of sound coming out of the front directly to the front of me now, and one up ahead of me, and you can imagine when I'm walking with this, that this beam of sound is in front of my chest and face and stopping me bumping into any of those really nuisance things like step ladders across streets and truck wing mirrors hanging out, which blind people can't find with a normal cane. So that's really dangerous. So this thing prevents that sort of hazard. And the other beam looks forward for up to about 5 meters ahead and gives you information, well, both of them do actually, on these little yellow buttons that you can feel with your thumb, the ball of your thumb. So as you're walking along with your cane, you can feel little vibrations, little pulses that tell you how far away things are. And one of the nice advantages of the interdisciplinary aspect of having lots of people who know lots about different things is my neurophysiologist colleague knows all about how the brain processes this sort of information. And it's great when we have sensors, and that's one of my key interests, but it's even better when we have a sensor attached to a computer. Now I've got a computer up here, it's called my brain. It's an incredibly powerful self-adaptive learning tool. I can use it to learn about lots of things. Apparently, if you've got 10 years to spare, you can learn how to be a concert pianist, but it only takes about a month to learn how to use this. So instead of being able to play Beethoven perfectly, which I can't do unfortunately, I can learn how to do this, so I don't have to think about using it. It just is subliminal, it just happens automatically. I just know that things are there. And blind people tell us that they don't even feel the vibrations. Now that's the Ultracane, and that was going to be on this TV program that I mentioned, and we thought about the idea of putting it on a mobile vehicle of some kind, but the bike seemed an ideal thing because the user could be in control, so we could have a blind person in control of a two-wheeled cycle. So it's very simple. If you imagine the Ultracane on its side, we've got two beams. It's not quite like this, you can imagine. You're going to see a film of one, I hope, soon. But we have one beam looking that way and one beam looking that way, and they're for a specially designed track. So we don't put people on the open street with these, we put them on a special
Keen
track.
cyclist Dan tragically lost his sight 9 months ago from a rare genetic condition. He hasn't been able to ride a bike on his own since. Although most of the damage to his eyes is invisible, trust me, Dan can't see anything in front of him.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Dan only had a few short hours to practice on this bike. But bat technology is allowing his brain to see the course. Well, there could be no clearer proof that bat tech works.
Yeah, very good actually. So very good to be back on a single bike again. But the technology works because I've just navigated the whole track by myself, so I'm very pleased, yeah.
So in order to ride the Ultrabike, all you've got to do is be happy to sit on the bike. Now obviously if you're a sighted person, the idea of closing your eyes and riding about seems absolutely crazy. But we've got to remember that visually impaired and blind people are used to not having sight. So it's easy for them in a way to do this. And what we've got to do is, as people using the Ultracane do, is they have trust in the tactile sensations they get to tell them about things ahead. So the same thing is going to apply to the bike. Now we also put the bike on a very safe track, so there's no holes in the ground, no overhead obstructions. So it's a very safe place, and at worst all they can do is fall off. And if we give them a three-wheeler bike, they can't fall off either. So the idea is to take the idea of the tactile transducers and translate that to each hand. So when you're sitting with the handlebars in your hands, you can use the ball of your thumbs to feel things on either side. So if you feel something to your left, you know that you have to move to your right to move away from that object. If you feel something from your right, you know that you need to move to the left. If you feel something from both sides, you know that something is directly ahead of you and you should probably stop and have a little investigation. You're too close to something. So it's really straightforward. You can simply get on this thing and have a special track, and the track typically curves around in segments, so you can find something ahead, turn left in front of it, find another object, turn left in front of that, find another object to the right, etc. So we can have a zigzag type track. And people find this very straightforward, and after a little while I've got seen people tearing away around this track going quite worryingly fast. Since we developed the Ultrabike for the TV program, we only had one of these things, just one, and we thought that was going to be the end of it. We thought we'd put it in a cupboard, and that was a nice experience seeing somebody ride this bike for a TV program. But in fact we had lots of interest from blind organisations, from cycling clubs, from people who take blind people on the backs of tandems, and so we decided to manufacture a few more rugged ones, more carefully designed ones that are suitable for more than one usage. So we made 5 of these things, and we had, for example, a large slalom in the centre of Bristol about 6 or 9 months ago, and that was very successful. And now the Ultracane company, in response to lots of demand, has decided to make this a product which is going to market to training organisations for blind people and sporting organisations, people who can provide a safe track, training for people looking after that, to give lots of visually impaired and blind, particularly younger people perhaps, although it's okay for any age, the nice sensation of riding independently around a track and getting exercise. It's a nice thing to get exercise, which you can't really do too well if you can't see too well. The Ultrabike and the Ultracane have given massive inspiration about how to take some simple sensing devices, some simple actuation devices, and a little computer processing, because obviously the device has got a little computer in there to make sense of all the data. So it's amazing how you can transform lots of problems and challenges by having sophisticated sensing devices and the capability to process. My own research interest is looking inside industrial processes using sensors, so looking inside things like pharmaceutical crystallizers to make them work better, to be more efficient, etc. And so one of the areas there is to look how we can do this. So one of my areas interested in is in looking at tomographic devices and providing spectroscopy in there as well. But the world is our oyster. If we think about it, the human body is a collection of sensors with a processor. I know that's a little trivial, but that's what it is. And so making sensors intelligent and distributed and giving them the capability to interpret can massively transform lots of different challenges for the human race.
We'd like to thank the Ultracane Company, Oxford Scientific Films, Terra Mater Factual Studios for their permission to use the video clips you've seen in this presentation.
The IET, the Institution of Engineering and Technology, here to inspire, inform and influence the global engineering community, supporting technology innovation to meet the needs of society.